Why are you bringing up such painful memories? I've just last year finally, recovered shaking.
This was a street fight. People were scared of this movie, just like they were scared of Batman.
Tim is really, I gotta be honest, I think one of the only people who could really do it justice because he understands it. He's lived it. Man, he would have knocked it out of the park.
Tim was really gearing up for that, was really excited about it. So, from that perspective, it was a big disappointment because I think he would have really stretched in a way that he hadn't yet. And maybe hasn't since, I don't know. He hasn't really made that movie.
Tim Burton's Superman would have been something quite unique and probably something we'd still be talking about.
Now when you think about it, if somebody was just like, would you like to see a Nick Cage Superman movie? I'd be like, and yes, take all my money because I want to see what that looks like.
It's time for Movie Month. It is my third annual Movie Month, in which I will be watching 30 movies in 30 days, and I'll either hate them or give them praise.
Day 23, movie 23, is now officially in the books. Tonight I watched a movie, a documentary, that was something that had been on my radar for quite some time, and I was looking for a way to watch it. I could have purchased it online. I was waiting to see if maybe there was a way to rent it, and finally, for a while now, I know that it was on Showtime, and I was so psyched to put this on my list, and I knew I was going to fit it in here this month and take the time to watch The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. That's the full title of this documentary that basically goes over, talks about the Superman movie that was never made. There have been other movies that with Superman that were never made, but this one was the most interesting one. The one that was first draft written by Kevin Smith, almost directed by Tim Burton, and almost starring Nicolas Cage as Superman. This could have been part of our Nickflix blog, if it ever happened. For years you hear this was going to happen, or you hear this, this almost happened, and there was a movie starring Nicolas Cage was going to be Superman, and there were images out there floating around as Superman with Nick Cage dressed up in this weird Superman costume, and if you look up Nicolas Cage Superman on Google Images, you'll see this squinty-eyed Nick Cage in a weird-looking suit with long black hair, and it's so weird how that photo kind of made the rounds, and you realize that it was just a shot of him while he was standing there, and his eyes, he was in mid-blink, and it almost made it look like he didn't even know what was going on. And you see these crazy artist renditions or suits that all lit up and were different colors, and this was for the Superman movie. And this documentary shows you that that may have been in the movie for about 2 minutes. It was kind of this was in the mid to late 90s. Warner Brothers tapped, actually John Peters, the producer, ended up buying up the rights to Superman, and decided to make this movie, found Kevin Smith as the screenwriter, Tim Burton, then they went with Nicolas Cage. It was just and it's amazing watching this story of how much work went into this movie that eventually got the plug pulled from it. To the artists, tons of concept designers designing monsters, designing spaceships, designing suits, and suits being made and suits being tested, and Nicolas Cage, testing these suits out and getting pictures taken, and all these things, and concept and scripts being written and stories being and just all these things happening. And then one day Warner Brothers said this, it's too much money, not worth it, and they pulled the plug. It's amazing. I love the story behind movies being made, but I also love the story behind movies that were made or were being made and then just stopped. It's very fascinating to me. I like reading articles about that, and I've always loved finding things about this movie. It was also the same thing, like finding things about Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future, and how he was almost Marty McFly, and how much of the movie was shot. And I remember for years they said, "Oh, but they killed all the footage." Then years later, "Oh no, there's footage out there." So there's always more than what you originally think is out there. Like with this Nick Cage, you think it's just one photo, but there's a lot more photos where his hair is short and he's in a better looking suit and he looks a lot more like a Superman. In a weird way, I'm disappointed that this movie didn't get made, because it may have been a disaster or just way too weird, or it may have been just something weirdly amazing. Some shots, Nicolas Cage with the short hair and in the good Superman suit, he looked like Superman to me. It was crazy. Other times his hair was a little too long, but in the 90s, if you look at some of the comic books, Superman had long hair too. It was just very fascinating how much, even just having Kevin Smith talking about it, the guy who produced it seemed like kind of a wacky Hollywood type guy. It's weird to talk about documentaries without basically just telling the story that they just told you. But I don't know if you haven't noticed, I'm a huge Superman fan. And look, I'm one of the people, I went opening night to Batman v Superman, and I enjoyed it. I know why people didn't like it. I don't care. I own, Superman Returns on DVD. I own Man of Steel on DVD. I still need to go buy the original Christopher Reeve Supermans. I love all those. I'm wearing a Superman shirt right now as I say this. And probably tomorrow I'll be wearing a different Superman shirt. That's just it's who I am. I love Smallville. And look, I love Supergirl. I'm not going to lie. So me going into this just being a huge Superman fan also, it was so fascinating. The only problem was that the movie was only, an hour and 45 minutes. I wanted it to be 10 hours long. Now I saw at the end, if you go to the official website, which is TDOSLWH.com, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. It's the acronym. Apparently there's 8 hours of additional footage. I don't know if that's something you have to pay for or if you bought the movie. I don't know if it's just stuff. But I'm going to go see if I can dig into that and find more, because I found it so fascinating and so interesting. And it was cool to hear Tim Burton just kind of, open up and talk about it. And Nicolas Cage wasn't interviewed for the movie, but they had some interview clips with him and a lot of video of him and photos of him. And I remember seeing the article of this weird guy, this guy wearing one of the light up suits. It was like a regeneration suit. It took the story of Superman being killed and Superman being brought back to life. And this suit was just part of that process. It wasn't the Superman suit. And it was just some guy who worked in the special effects trying on the suit. It's like the photos kind of skewed the narrative and swayed people to think one way, when if you looked at the big picture of things, that photo did not do justice to what this movie could have been. And again, this is also using the special effects from 98, 99. So it might not have been as amazing as it could have been. Well, the special effects might not have been as seamless and realistic as they are nowadays. But I was still in college when this came out. It's weird because I wasn't this crazy Superman fan boy that I kind of became during my 30s. It was really my 30s where the Supermanness came out in me, which is strange. You think that's really for kids, but it kind of blossomed in my 30s, which I'm still in my 30s. So for a few more weeks. So I'm going to. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I don't want to talk about that anymore at all. Look, if you have Showtime or if you can rent this in any way. If you're into movie making, if you're into superhero stuff, if you're into Superman, it's just a really cool kind of story. That's really what comes to it. It's a really good cool story about what could have been. And this is before the crazy superhero, renaissance that we've gotten with Iron Man starting Marvel and Batman Begins kind of starting the WB track, which has turned to whatever we're getting next. Side note that the Justice League story and the Justice League villain and the Justice League logo for the Justice League movie has kind of been announced, and I'm a little underwhelmed at who the villain is. I don't even know who the villain is. I'd had to look the guy up, and the logo seemed pretty boring. But maybe they're going for some kind of classic thing. I don't know. We'll see. It remains to be seen. But that's not what this story is about. This story is about the movie that didn't happen, about the Nicolas Cage Superman movie, which this was while Nicolas Cage was still a hot star too. I wish they'd still make it. I wish Tim Burton would grab Nicolas Cage now and they just F off someplace for 6 months and make a Superman movie. You could shoot on an iPhone. I don't care. I want to see that. Maybe I could watch that for next year. But for this year, Day 23 is in the books. So check out this. Look up anything you can on this movie and check this documentary out. Really cool. Oh, and this is the first movie that I've ever seen that was not completely, but that was backed big time by Kickstarter. The first time I heard about this movie was this guy, John Schnepp. Please, I hope I got that right. John Schnepp is the documentarian. He created a video and said he's working on this documentary and he needed Kickstarter backing. Apparently he got it because during the credits, there were tons of names listed from the Kickstarters. And I wish I added something because I could have had a credit in this movie. I don't know if that would have got me to give me my own IMDb listing, but it would have been my first movie credit. Unless you count those home movies that I made. But I was, writer, director, producer, star. So, I mean, those were more pet projects, really. I'm rambling now. It's late. I'm tired. And Day 23 is done. Really quick, you know everything already. This is Geek Mentality. You can find me on Twitter at Geek Mentality. You can find us on Facebook at fansnotexperts.com facebook.com/fansnotexperts. The website's fansnotexperts.com. SoundCloud.com/FNE Movie Month. And FNE Movie Month 2, and probably coming soon, FNE Movie Month 3. The hashtag anywhere you're searching, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere really, just FNE Movie Month. If you search hashtag FNE Movie Month or just FNE Movie Month, FNE for Fans Not Experts, Movie Month, all one word, FNE Movie Month, you can't miss it. We're everywhere. We have 2 other podcasts on the website. One's a wrestling podcast called WrestleFania, and one is a Boy Meets World podcast. Yes, you heard it, called Man Meets World. There's been 4 episodes so far, and my cousin is tweeting me right now going, where the hell's episode 5? Because he just records them, and I do all the production. So look for episode 5 really, really soon. Sorry, Brandon. It's coming soon, I promise. It's just I've been busy, not doing it. Huh. And, yeah, that's it. I'm done. So, you know what? Superman's the best. I don't care what anybody says. The hell with you, Marvel. I don't care about these movies. The Marvel movies may be better. Superman's still the greatest superhero in the world, and I'll take that to my early grave. Goodbye, and play my music.
This is my podcast, I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode. Fans Not Experts.